All right. Another episode of Powerhouse Conversations. Welcome to this podcast. We bring on sports people in the industry, and we have conversations about how we can innovate in the sports industry. It's brought to you by Dream Big Sports, sports consulting firm that we bring in sports, tech, and business, and we have conversations surrounding those. So we have a good one today. We're going to be talking about. To Sports Moms University. We're going to come in and we're going to have a good conversation about NIL, how you can build a good team around you and have a successful career. So let's let everybody get in. I see some people already joining, and let's bring Mrs. Cleveland to the stage. Let's see. There we go.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
It is a Monday and I'm above ground, and it is not snowing in Tennessee, so I cannot complain.
Perfect. So again, welcome to Powerhouse Conversations. We're going to have a good day. We're going to talk about some good topics of how we can help the youth and how we can help the family that's surrounding you. So I want you to introduce yourself and, let everybody know who you are and what you do.
My name is Jamesetta Cleveland, and I own an athletic consulting firm called Sports Mom University. And I help athletes and their families understand who they are and how they prefer to show up in the world. And we use that information to help them establish a secure identity outside of sports. And once they know who they are outside of the game, we are able to help them select the right academic, athletic, and entrepreneurship opportunities to benefit themselves and their families in the long run.
Perfect. And so can you tell everyone how you got started, like what brought you to this?
Sports Mom University is actually an outgrowth of my life. I am the mom of 3 multi-sport athletes, 1 Division I football player. And as I was raising my children, particularly my son, I wanted to find a place where you could go if you wanted to be a better parent, but also to be a parent who understood that athletics was just something that your child did, not who they were.
Right.
And I didn't find that. I didn't find the place for moms to go to say, okay, this is how you go about the business of raising an athlete who's a whole person. And so my son played Division I football at the Air Force Academy. When he graduated in 2019, I started the adventure of opening up what is now called Sports Mom University, which is really a reflection. I built what I did not have and what I wish I had. So it's my way of giving back.
Right. That's perfect. That's I love when those stories of someone who's building a business, they're actually something that's practical, right? It's something that they didn't see, because in business you have to find that problem and then you create the solution for that problem. So that's perfect. And so, tell me about some of the challenges that you saw when you were your son was going through that process.
Everyone wanted to train him. Everyone wanted to be able to say they were part of the process. They made him, that's my athlete. But very few people looked at him and said, how do we help him be the man that God wants him to be? How do we deliberately and intentionally mold his character? How do we help him make sure that he's going to school not just to play football, but he's making the right decision? Because in recruiting, you're asking a 17-year-old or 18-year-old, sometimes 19 if they reclass, baby, to make a decision that is going to benefit them when they're 40.
Right.
And it's like, okay, it's got to be about more than just football. And it's got to be about more than just somebody wanting to post a picture where my son gets an accolade in the paper or winning, or saying that's one of my athletes. So finding a place that was interested in him as a whole person was difficult. Mm-hmm. And then just being transparent, we both know the athletic world is still very male dominated. Mm-hmm. And so there's a very fine line that you walk when you're an active mom.
Right.
Some people were like, oh, well, he's a mama's boy. Other people were like, well, she doesn't know anything anyway, so we can just say
Right.
whatever we want to say. Case in point, this is a true story. When we took one of his official visits, one of the things that I was concerned about was the depth chart, because everybody says, oh, your kid's going to play, they're going to play as a freshman. That is not very likely. And I need you to just respect my mind and say, okay, we have five people in front of them.
Right.
So we're sitting in this room, and the coach actually has his depth chart on the wall,
Right.
but he doesn't understand that I can read it.
Right.
So he's telling me, oh, he's going to play immediately. And I look over at the depth chart and I'm like, okay, 3 seniors, 2 juniors, 4 sophomores. Nah, I ain't playing.
Right.
He's not playing. So the number of people that still look at you as a woman and say, well, she doesn't know anything about the sport, so we can say whatever,
Right.
rather than just educating you. It was really interesting. That still happens. I still walk into rooms today and people look at me and are like, oh, she didn't know anything about sports. So that's funny. But the flip side of that was I was very active because I was always mindful that my children were not athletes. They were men. He's going to be a man of God. I'm going to raise some women of God. And so I had questions like, okay, what do you believe? What's your character like? How do you treat your wife?
Right.
How do you treat your kids? And sometimes that would come across not as concern for my children's soul, but as, well, she's a hover mom, or he's a mama's boy. So that's still very prevalent. Those were three of the biggest things that you encounter as a mom.
Right. And so even when bringing that up, was like a positive is spent to a negative, like, the narrative that is being placed around your child, just because you're being active and you're trying to understand the process, you're trying to ask questions, and for people to spin that into a negative, that I know that has to be challenging, and that's also something that you can relate to with other moms to help facilitate your business.
Yeah, because what I have found is that women, if there are men present, sometimes they won't. A lot of times they won't ask questions. I have a Facebook community that is all women. It's called the Sports Mom University Community Group. And the questions that they answer, we talk about tough things in there. Last week we were talking about, do you notice your kid when they leave your home? Or are you the mom that says, oh, they're 18, I did my duty? Because sometimes we see kids that are committing suicide, they're falling into depression. And so sometimes it's tough to look in the mirror as a mom and say, well, maybe I did look at my kid and say, well, he's 18 or she's 18,
Right.
my job is done, when it's not done.
Right.
It isn't done. So women still will not, a lot of them won't ask questions if there are men present. They will have questions, they'll just be too intimidated to ask them.
Yep. And like you said, like taking advantage of, or the perceived advantage of, okay, well, the father may not be there, and I think that I can just steer this kid in any direction and just give the mom any type of information that I want, and get the kid to come to my school. That's another, like, we hear about women in sports, and the discrepancy, and the different things that happen. But then there's a flip side of the mother of the kid that's in sports. That's a woman that's in the sports industry that's still being taken advantage of, or
It's
trying
fair.
to be taken advantage of.
And it's really common because there's all these terms that you hear in the athletic world. But if you go and look at the terms that people are throwing around, like simple terms like 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, or a head count sport or equivalency sport, there's a assumption that parents know these terms.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a, hey, this is the lexicon of this is a
Right.
dictionary. And so the assumption that you know the terms or you know what questions to ask,
Mm-hmm.
because when you're going through the process for the very first time, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So there is very little, what I have found, that there's very little, okay, some of these kids oh, they're a first time college student. Let's make sure that the mom understands these words that I'm using.
Right.
It's, oh, well, if you don't understand, so bad, so sorry, so sad.
Right.
And so that's a big deal. You can't make wise decisions if you don't have accurate information.
Right. And that leads me to, so let's talk about some of the curriculums that you teach in Sports Mind University. Like, speak to some of those.
So one of the classes that I'm most proud of is a class called the Certified Sports Parent. And it's a 4-week workshop, and we talk about the role of a parent in the recruiting process.
Mm.
Most people do not understand the actual term of a recruiting contact. And they don't know that a recruiting contact, it includes a conversation with the parent. And so we sometimes say, oh, that's just my child. They're the ones that are going through the process. But the NCAA has a definition, and you as a parent are a part of that definition. So teaching parents like, whoa, you do have a responsibility, whether you accept it or not, helping them understand how to view social media differently, and even helping them understand, how do you create film? Where do you post it? What does it need to look like? How often should you update it? And how do you approach a coach? How do you send an email? How do you send a direct message? Should I send a direct message, or should I send an email? How do I make my child stand out? We cover all of that in the Certified Sports Parent Workshop. And I teach a class called Intro to College Sports. And it does cover all of the basic things that I wish someone had sat down and told me. Now, keep in mind, I'm probably a good case scenario, because we made a fabulous decision for my child. Fabulous. And I think about, wow, how much easier it would have been if someone had just said, here's where you go to figure out to understand all of these terms. So that, and then I teach a class called 7 Things About Money We Didn't Learn in School,
Mm-hmm.
because most athletes, we know this, they, even the ones that go pro, they end up broke. They're like me. I was the college student that was like, oh, money, what do you do with that? And so I teach a class called 7 Things. It's a full curriculum called 7 Things We Didn't Learn About Money in School. And there are other classes that I teach, but those are the 3 that I'm really proud of. And just shameless plug, we're going to talk about NIL every Thursday.
Right.
I teach a free name, image, and likeness class that is open to anybody who wants to learn more about name, image, and likeness. Just message me and I'll send you the link.
Yeah. And so we'll definitely get that out afterward, and we can go ahead and transition right to name, image, and likeness. What's your thoughts? Well, I guess we should introduce what that is. Do you want to explain it in the best terms that you can?
Yes, I will. So name, image, and likeness is really exactly what it says. Your name has value. The last name on your child's jersey, their social media handle. We don't think about this, but on each platform, no 2 people have the same exact social media handle. The one that your child has value. Their initials, their autograph, all of those things are name. Image, there are entire industries devoted to the pictures and the videos of our children. Think ESPN, Fox Sports. And then a likeness is any type of variation of a picture. Think a cartoon character or a video game character. Those are the 2 most common likenesses that you will see. So just know that your child's name, their image, and their likeness has dollar value.
No, that's a perfect explanation to it. So what are some of the things that you have been seeing since it's coming up on a year since it's came into place? What's some of the things that you have seen? What's some of the things that you have noticed about it?
So one of the things I posted about this today, I didn't think this was true, but I tested it out and it is. Something really simple, like having a way for a business to contact you.
Right.
Lots of athletes don't understand that schools cannot facilitate a transaction. If Pepsi if you're an athlete and you go to the University of Tennessee, I live in Tennessee, Pepsi can't call the UTAD and say, hey, can you get me on the line with this particular athlete? Here, that's against state law.
Right.
So if a business first thing they're going to do is look at your social media.
Right.
There should be a way for them to contact you.
Right.
Like literally, you should have like a booking email,
Right.
or you should tell them something like, okay, DM me and I'll respond.
Right.
So something little like
Right.
that, they don't, that's not consistent. Athletes aren't thinking of themselves as businesses. And probably the most common thing is athletes and their families do not understand federal intellectual property laws.
Mhm.
And that is really very common. So if you're listening to this, ask yourself, do I own all of the pictures on my social media profiles? Whether it's Facebook or Instagram, do I own every single picture and video? And if you say no to that question, then ask yourself, do I have the owner's permission to post this picture?
Right.
100% of the time, I go look at when people ask me to do social media audits, they're like, yeah, I don't own that picture.
Right.
No, I didn't ask that person's permission if I could post it. So if you don't have someone's permission to post a picture, that's actually there's something called editorial license.
Yep.
You need to get permission. And another thing that athletes do that is a fine line is when they post pictures of themselves in their school attire,
Mhm.
whether it's the uniform, whether it's the official warm up, and sometimes even on school property, because some schools have policies that say you cannot post a picture in your NIL activities of facilities or
Mhm.
monuments. And so the locker room falls into facilities,
Right.
and most athletes take pictures of themselves either before the game or after the game
Right.
in their uniform in the locker room. So they have to just start asking questions, simple
Right.
things that
Yep.
they've been accustomed to doing for years, and now it's like, whoa,
It's
do
real
I?
tricky because even going back to the first point, I think if I'll fact check this later, but I think Nas, the rapper Nas, got sued recently for posting a picture that he didn't own or something, like the photographer is suing him or something of that nature. So to your point, that is something that you need, like, how things are going in this age, like,
LeBron James, to your point, LeBron James is
you know,
one. And if you'll notice, whether you listen to this live or on the replay, most famous people, they're putting photo creds on their pictures,
yeah,
or they're saying something to the effect of, I don't own the rights to this picture.
right,
If you know who this is, please tag them so that I can give them credit.
right,
Part of that is photographers are starting to say, hey, you cannot just use my pictures. One of the families that I work with, they did a photo shoot in downtown Detroit.
hmm,
They had to have permission for some of the buildings. They
wow,
had to have permission to actually use those buildings in the photo shoot for their brand. So it has become a very, very, whereas it didn't matter before,
right.
now it's a big deal.
Yeah, and to your point, people and parents need access to know how to maneuver in these in this time, because it like you said, it's very important, and it's something that either you can get in trouble for, you could cost you money. It's a lot of different factors into why it's going to be important for them moving forward.
Because you don't want to make money and have to give that money to somebody else.
Right,
Like,
right.
don't do it.
You don't want to make the money just to have to lose it, or being in legal battles at the age of 18 or 19 or 20, whatever. Like, it's just not something that you want to do. And going back to just like having a way for brands and people to contact you. I think one thing I would tell everyone that's on the live is go to GoDaddy or whatever domain service, and type in your name and get get the domain of your name. If so, in my case, get fredrickunderwood.com or whoever, whatever, jamessmith.com. Get that domain, get the domain for whatever whatever brand you're trying to create. Get that domain name and go from there. Also, when you get that domain name, you can get an email address that goes along with that domain name, and now you can put in your inbox, booking at fredunderwood.com. Contact me for any inquiries or inquiries at fredunderwood.com. It's as simple as that, and that's something that every athlete can do, and it's very simple for them to do and get set up. And then, if you want, you can have somebody that's going to check that email, make sure everything flows correctly, so they can focus on athletics. And like I said, the family and the support system is right there, and that's who needs to be able to do those things.
And to your point, the somebody that could be your mom.
Right.
That could be your sister.
Yep.
Your team doesn't have to be people that you pay. It
Yep.
could be one of the things that I tell athletes to do. We do a very poor job of helping kids learn to say no to adults. Mm-hmm. And so Name, Image, and Likeness has created this unique place where business owners who may be in their 60s, their 70s, their 50s are coming to kids, and I'm going to say high school and college, because there are high school students. One of my students, her son is in high school, and he has an NIL deal. Getting them to say no to an adult when we've taught them all their lives, respect their elders. We haven't given them a framework. So one of the things that families can do is say something simple. I don't make decisions. You can pitch me. Here's my email. Yep. I have to talk everything over with my designated decision maker.
Right.
And the designated decision maker can be you, your mom, and your dad, or you, your mom, and a trusted advisor.
Yep.
But it prevents athletes from saying yes because we haven't taught them how to say no.
Right, and just empowering them to be able to feel the ability to say no, and having that process in place. Like, if they know what that process is like, it's much easier to be empowered to tell them, hey, no, this is the proper channels. Let's go through the proper channels to get this done. Here's my email address. Here's my digital. Like, I know kids love their phones. You create a digital business card. Here's where you can follow me on all these processes. Send over a pitch deck, send over a proposal, and we can go from there. But you have to have that mindset and the process in place for them to be able to do that.
Yes, and it is not as complicated as we think. It's just something really simple, like, hey, get your domain and an email, or do a Gmail account, and then talk to your people, your family, your friends, your trusted advisors, and say, hey, we're going to set up this email, and here's the person that's going to check it. And here's how often they should check it. And we'll meet once a week, once a month, however often, to discuss the things that have been sent to us and follow up with the businesses that are making inquiries.
Yep. No, that's definitely something that they need to do. And if anybody needs any help, like, just reach out. As far as I know, we talked about this earlier, from the difference between everybody looking at NIL as an opportunity to work with as a brand ambassador versus understanding the entrepreneurship aspect of it. So can you speak to that?
So one of the things that you see happening is that everyone is talking about, how do I be a brand ambassador? How do I represent a brand? But 100% of athletes, whether you are 5 or 55, you are a brand. And so the unique opportunity that college students have is they have, and even high school in the States where it's available, is you have the opportunity to become entrepreneurs. And everybody can be a hometown hero. Everybody can. Like, there are a finite number of brand ambassadorships because every company doesn't have an official spokesperson.
No.
But everyone can be a business owner. And being a business owner doesn't have to be deep. You know how to dribble. You can do a camp. You can do lessons when you go home for the summer or on breaks. You can do something simple like You know your rec team that you used to play for, that they always pub you, because as you as you go further, like our rec league, UNA, every time somebody got admitted to college, UNA would send a blast out to everybody saying, hey, former Unibear Ronald Cleveland is now at the United States Air Force Academy. Well, those people, they're your people. They're vested. Why don't you just say, I'm going to do public appearances for my rec league?
Yep.
Go back and speak to them. It does not have to be really deep. One of the things that I talk to my clients about is building their tribe and getting and establishing their own community, because the community that you build as a business owner, it follows you outside of college.
Right.
So name, image, and likeness brand ambassadorship deals only last as long as an athlete is enrolled in college. Well, when it's done, what do you have? You have nothing.
Right.
If you build your tribe and you build your business, what happens is you get to keep them for the rest of your life. This is some math that I actually had. One of my, I have a huddle of people. We have a mastermind for business development in the world of name, image, and likeness. I asked them, I said, would it be worth it if it took you a year to find 300 people? And those 300 people were absolutely loyal, and they rock with you, and they bought anything you told them to buy. They showed up anywhere that you told them to show up. And then once a month, you sold them something that cost $20. And then once a month, but 12 times a year.
Right.
If you guys do the math, 300 people that buy whatever you tell them to buy.
Right.
Once a month, you tell them we're gonna drop a shirt. It's $20, and you do that 12 times a year.
Yep.
That is something that people are like, whoa, well, yeah, it would be worth it. If it took me a year, if it took me 3 years to find my loyal 300, it would be worth it.
Yep.
And that example is what really like helps them see.
Yeah, because that's the easiest thing that you can think about. Like if you get your logo, you get your website, you get all that in place. You can find your local print shop. Print shirts, print the logo on the shirt, and you sell that shirt. You do something else, and you sell that, right? But the thing is that they are going to be able to monetize that, versus if they're just a brand ambassador, then they can only get whatever whatever that brand is going to give to them. They can own that even after they leave. Like, let's just say hypothetically, they go to the NBA or they don't go to the NBA, right? If they go overseas or play in the Canadian League for football, they still own that brand that they created as a high schooler or as a college player, and then they can keep on moving and keep on growing that, and they've made that money throughout the college, right? And then they can still make money on the back end after they get out of college, versus I spent all this time promoting somebody else's brand, and then now they're not messing with me anymore because now I'm not a big time athlete. Now they're going to find the big time athletes.
And here's an example of how that works real time. The NFL Combine just happened a couple weeks ago. At the Combine, there was a young man. He was a lineman, and he has a company that he launched called Beef Jerky. He got permission to bring his jerky to the NFL Combine and to give samples to every team and person that showed up at the Combine. Just so happened that the young man forgot the samples. You know what? The fact that he forgot the samples, the fact that he has a company, the NFL, they advertised his company for him throughout the Combine.
Wow.
He owns a business. The other people who were there were just brand ambassadors. There was no mention of brand ambassadorships, but I would love to see how many sales this young man got during the 2 days that the NFL was talking about his company, Beef Jerky. And they probably gave him permission to send those samples to the teams.
Yep. And then even if you think back to your previous point, now you like when you have that like you said that spike in sales, you now own that data and you own those customers. That's something that you take with you forever, versus you're just a brand ambassador. All you're doing is, hey, I'm promoting this brand, and the actual company keeps that customer. They're not your customer. You become an entrepreneur, and that's going to be something that you own. You own that data. You own that customer, and you can take them for with whatever you do. If you decide to do a new business, now you still have that data. You can take them and you can promote that to them as well.
Forever.
Yep.
Like, just imagine Clemson's quarterback, DJ. He was a brand ambassador for Dr. Pepper during the season. Those Fanville commercials were showed to millions of people. Imagine if DJ had access to the name, the email address, and the
Mm-hmm.
phone number of the millions of people that saw his ad. But he doesn't,
Right.
because he's not the owner, like he doesn't own the company. But you better believe Dr. Pepper is building a database
Right.
of loyal customers. And that is the true phenomenon of entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Everybody can be a hometown hero, whether you're D1, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO. You can find 100
Yep.
to 200 to 300 people. Like, I'm from a small town. Don't laugh. My mama's from a small town and it's got 1,000 people. I'm probably related to 900 of the 1,000. But like, just imagine if I sold a shirt and I just went home to my family and
Yep.
I said, you know what, guys? I just want y'all to buy my shirt. My shirt's $5.
Right.
Like, that is the ability. 100% of the athletes,
Yep.
whether they are in high school or college or even professionals, they have that opportunity. And this is something I will tell athletes: do not wait. Like, do not wait. Start building connections, because some of my people that I work with, they believe, well, oh, I'm going to wait. And when I get to the league, wherever the league may be, they're going to help me. But that is not the case. Professional leagues do not actively promote the brands of the athletes who are a part of that league.
Right.
They only actively promote the brands that have a partnership with the
Right.
professional league.
Right.
So that's been a really interesting. I'm so excited about the people who build businesses, because when they go to professional leagues, their businesses are going to grow. You can't tell me as a business owner that I can't run my business because
Right.
I'm a part of your league.
Right.
And so that's going to change the way that professional leagues interact with athletes going forward.
Now, is there any conflicts of interest in the way that they can promote their own brand? Like, let's just say they have, they want to sell shirts. Are they not allowed to get a NIL deal with certain, I don't know, Adidas, or is there any parameters around that?
So if you're starting your own business, there really isn't a restriction. What schools may look at is they're going to look at some states have guidance as far as, like, maybe they're not going to let you open a business in adult entertainment.
Right.
Or maybe you can't open a gambling business.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's your business, you have a lot of latitude.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where the conflict of interest comes is brand ambassadorships. Because if you are going to be a brand ambassador, what you have to do is you have to you have to show the school that you attend a copy of your contract.
Gotcha.
And the school gets to say, no, there's a conflict. So a conflict would be, this is an example. So the Air Force Academy is a Nike school.
Right.
And if my son wanted to sign his own shoe deal, it couldn't be with Nike because Nike was already in a deal with the school itself. Now, he could potentially sign a deal with Adidas or Converse or
Mm-hmm.
New Balance. So anytime a student athlete enters into a brand ambassadorship, they're going to send that contract to their school for review. The school is going to say, yes, we have a conflict. And if they do have a conflict, they physically have to give them the language so that athletes will know the company, the company and what the conflict. But if there's no conflict, then they can actually pursue the opportunity. And what they're really looking for is a couple of things. They're looking for athletes not signing deals with existing companies that their schools already work with, and they're looking to make sure that there are certain industries that they do not want athletes attached to. At the end of the day, schools do have a moral and
Hmm.
ethical standard that athletes are supposed to follow as they represent the school, whether they're actively involved in activities representing the school or whether they're in personal activities. So they're really looking to make sure like they some states they don't like alcohol partnerships. No states like adult entertainment partnerships. Some states won't let you do like vapes or cigarettes. They're very mindful
Right.
of certain industries, and so that's kind of fair.
Because every state is coming out with their own laws and things of that nature. Are they still waiting on certain states, or is mostly everybody released what their parameters are?
So for college, you're either people go you want to check, and you either your state has passed the law. So for example, Tennessee has a name, image, and likeness law.
Mhm.
And for those states that do not have a name, image, and likeness law on the books, so for example, in Idaho, the NCAA has released an interim policy.
Gotcha.
So every college athlete has rules to follow.
Hmm.
They just have to say, where's my school located? Does this state where my school is have an actual law? If not, what's the interim NCAA policy? And what's my school
Gotcha.
policy as well?
And is that based on the state that they're residents of, or is it the state of the school that they attend?
It's based on the state of the school. It's where the school is physically located.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. And my other question surrounding that is when when they're going into that process of being an entrepreneur, do they have to come up with some type of contract with themselves, or like what do they have to do to get that through the school?
So you don't have to have now. You don't have permission. Have to have permission from the school
Okay.
to start your own business. Now, prior to July 1st, you did have to get. The NCAA had a waiver process where if
Okay.
you were an athlete, you could get a waiver. Sometimes some athletes were able to get waivers. Other times they were not. So it's a very new world where you can actually start your own business. And newsflash, it is not a lot. You can even start simple like a sole proprietorship. You don't have to go right to an LLC. And I will say this, part of the conversation that we're having right now is why I teach my Thursday class, because 100% of student athletes right now are 1099 contractors.
Right.
And they don't realize that they already have an employment status
Yep.
as of July 1st, 2021.
Yep. And one of the things we talked about earlier is just like a lot of these kids are going to be filing taxes for the first time, right? They don't even understand the ramifications or understand the things that they have to do to make sure that they are one, following all the tax laws, and then two, not getting any trouble. So hiring an accounting, or making sure that your books are good. Like a lot of those things are going to be very important for them, and that's where a business like yours comes into place to make sure that the parents and the child knows those types of things.
Yeah, because I promise you, some athlete right now has said, my dorm is my home office. Sir, ma'am, according to the IRS. No, it's not. But we have all kinds of things. One of the things that I actually caution parents is, one, understand how time is allocated, because when you're doing business, like one of the most common things I have to talk to them about is, okay, were you driving to an autograph signing? Okay, so that mileage is not personal mileage, that's
Right.
business mileage. Were you using your cell phone for business activity?
Right.
Were you using the internet for like little things like that?
Right.
Or like some kids, their parents have been able to claim them
Hmm.
all of their life. And so we tend to, like, if you have historically gotten three, four, I've seen people get $6,000 or more. If you've historically gotten a couple stacks back on your
Mm-hmm.
income tax, sometimes we budget based on that money.
Right.
We say, oh, I'm gonna buy a new car, or I'm gonna get caught up on
Right.
bills, or whatever I'm gonna do. Well, you can't be a dependent on mama's side when you run a successful business on
Right.
your side.
Right.
So some families, this tax season, people are like, whoa,
Right.
whoa, whoa.
Right.
that's
Because
that's not what that's supposed to look
in some
like.
cases they may have made more than their parents make right now. So that's it's a big change and something that they definitely have to be aware of because they probably didn't think about it.
Yeah, and things like it's very seductive. The business flew me out to a particular state so that I could make an appearance. Well, the business is going to send you a 1099 for the
Yep.
value of
Yep.
that. And athletes understanding, well, I got paid tax on the plane ticket, but I didn't get that money.
Right.
Oh, it's the value, it's financial compensation.
Right.
And one of the things, just being transparent, um, in some communities, sometimes mama isn't the one who claims you. I don't see people telling athletes, go home and ask your mom who
Yes.
claims you. Sometimes mama has given you to granny or
Mm-hmm.
to Aunt Beverly, because Aunt
Mm-hmm.
Beverly don't have no kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so Aunt Beverly is finna claim you like she's normally been claiming you.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know because you've
Yep.
never had to do this before.
Yep.
And Aunt Beverly's gonna submit her tax return. Beverly has submitted her tax return, and you have submitted your tax return as a 1099 business employee, and the IRS is saying, this is a red flag right here.
Right.
Someone is lying.
Right.
And so some simple things that we don't, I would say we, I won't say we because I actually had this conversation with my clients, but when you go out into the larger name, image, and likeness infrastructure, those are some things, like, if you're not from those types of communities where this happens, you
Never
may
even
never think
never even
to. And so you're not giving your athletes the right information because you've never been experiencing
right.
this scenario. And so it isn't, like, in my opinion, it isn't deliberate
Yep.
withholding of information. It's that you are not from our neck of the
Yep.
woods,
It's
and
them. They're not in our culture. So it just didn't even resonate that these things are going on, and it's a very common thing in the culture.
oh, we have a question. Does name, image, and likeness extend to the pros? Yes, it does. Professional athletes as well can make money. They have historically been able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. But that, just like this is a miss for college, well, with college they couldn't. But most professional athletes, they do not choose to cultivate a community and make money off of their name, image, and likeness. But yes, it is possible. Some of my clients range from high school to the pros, and I help them develop their brands and launch their businesses.
Yeah. Good question. Good question. And so I know we're coming up on the end of our time, but I definitely wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you are looking forward to in the future for your business and some of the things that you have going on.
So this year, I plan to work with more clients in terms of name, image, and likeness, because the need. I just assumed that the NCAA would be like, yeah, we need to have comprehensive education, and that is not going to happen. So I have a collective mastermind called In the Huddle with Sports Mom U, and we meet weekly, and they always have homework because the goal is to get them to develop businesses. So I'm going to grow my collective, and in April, financial literacy is key. I'm going to be doing a virtual financial literacy workshop for sports families from middle school to the pros, because I want them to begin planning. And in the summertime, we're going to do I did a name, image, and likeness conference. I did actually the first one
Great.
called "You Can Succeed Without the Machine: the power how to succeed in the world of NIL by building community." And so I have been asked to bring that back because I don't know if you realize it. Maybe I'm old, but when I was growing up, we had fan clubs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And and athletes and entertainers, they made hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars from fan clubs. And so it has been interesting to see that this new generation of athletes, they have followers,
Right.
but they don't know how to turn followers into fans.
Right. Right.
And so that name, image, and likeness summit is about how do you, one, find your tribe, and how do you move them from being followers who just observe to being fans who make purchases and who show up and to buy things. Because I'm going to say this again, entrepreneurship, finding your community and getting them to rock with you for the rest of your life, that is where true financial freedom lies.
Well, that is great, and I definitely want to make sure that everybody has that. So I'll do another post, talking about that conference and and getting all your information out. But I appreciate you coming on. I really enjoyed it. We'll definitely have to do a part two because this was a lot of information to unpack. So we'll circle back around and make sure that everybody understands and knows what's going on. I think this is something that's definitely good for the people that are tuning in, especially around the technology behind it, right? Because I think a lot of people need to understand what it looks like and how they can go about monetizing it, and technology is what's going to be allow you to do that and monetize those brands. So that's something that we
Yes.
definitely want to have another conversation about, and we'll go from there. But thank you
Thank
again.
you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the next time we do this.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Have a good day.
All right, bye. Also, everybody, we have a double header, so I'll have another episode coming up a little later with someone else, and where we talked about college recruitment and going from there. See you in a little bit.